to our monthly treasurer's report with Julie Sorensen.
Good evening, everyone. Not a whole lot to report on, so I'll keep it short for you, Greg. We've got winter tax collection started the 1st, so then just the cycle continues, and dog licenses went on sale starting the 1st also, so last Monday was our first day, and we've sold 87 to this point, so in our first week, sold 87. Other than that, it's just kind of regular everyday business. If you have any questions?
Anybody with any questions for Julie?
Okay.
All right, thank you, Julie.
Sure, thank you.
All right, our first agenda item, I would look for a motion to authorize the 2024 end-of-year budget adjustments as presented and authorize the county administrator to make any needed additional end-of-year budget adjustments to close out the 2024 budget.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Dr. Boggs.
So you do this every year, you just give me the authority to close out the books, and then I'll bring them all back to you in January. They'll all balance to zero, and then we'll go over all of them. But the end of the year comes on the 31st around the holidays. So.
Right.
And then you will approve all of them.
All right, any questions on budget adjustments for year end? I think we're in good hands between Tracy and Dr. Boggs, so no further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed the same, and then we'll move on to Wednesday. I would look for a motion to approve the 2025 budget resolution number 24-12-10 and adopt the 2025 budget as presented.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported.
So we have a balanced budget for this year. Again, we are looking at the general fund having about $22,300,000 overall between all of the funds, around 88.9 million. We do have a couple of funds related to the road commission, medical care facility that are a little more revenue over expenditures, and the MSU one, but they have fund balances to account for this. Now taxes did go down because of Headley of 0.038, which means that even though taxable value went up overall for the county, our ability to tax went down, which created pretty much a net neutral budget overall.
All right, any questions on that budget resolution? No one? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed the same, and that will move forward to Wednesday. I would look for a motion to approve resolution number 24-12-11 for the appointments to county advisory committees as recommended by the board chair.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported to make those appointments.
One additional item, we have a resignation from the health board of Mr. Pytosh, and Larry has Kevin Smith as a recommendation to fill him. So I would add him to the list if you would so amend your motion so that we don't have to wait another month.
I'll amend my motion to add Kevin Smith to be appointed to the health board.
Support.
All right, so the amended motion will include Kevin Smith, and we appreciate that, Larry. Appreciate Mr. Smith stepping up to take that spot.
Yep.
There weren't really any ones that were competitive. Almost all of them, there was one opening and one person that applied, usually the same person previous. Couple, there will be some extra vacancies that we will fill sometime in the new year.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed the same, and that moves forward. I would look for a motion to approve the holiday schedule and Board of Commissioners meeting schedule as presented.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. I know I looked at that and it looked.
We try to follow the same pattern that we do every year for when the meetings will be, so that they're on the second full week of the month. And we have all of them aligned there. We did make special note of one, I think it's the September one has to be where it is, particularly because it has to fall in some annual meeting dates. But under,
Nothing on opening day of deer season.
and that's it.
Alright, nicely done.
All right, all those in favor of approving our schedule for the Board of Commission meetings signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. And that moves along to Wednesday. I would look for a motion to approve the annual renewal with Zix Archive in an amount not to exceed $10,308.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported.
This is that little email you get all the time that shows your emails have been scanned so that viruses do not enter into our email system or onto our computers. We use this for all communication in and out of the county, and so it's highly necessary and needed. It has gone up by about $489.
Which, yeah, we do need that.
But you will get emails and you'll receive emails and they say scanned by Zix at the bottom. That's what it is, to make sure nothing comes into our systems.
All right, any questions on that? Simple enough. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. And that moves forward. I would look for a motion to approve resolution number 24-12-16 for the 2025 Rules of Organization and Procedure, and resolution number 24-12-12 regarding term of chairperson of County Board of Commissioners.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. That was a lot.
So you have two resolutions before you. There was some discussion from Greg and Cindy. Now that we are in 4-year terms to move to coincide with the law. Under the law, you can have board chair individuals elected either every year or every 2 years. And so now that you're going to 4-year terms, there was a discussion about it. So I prepared these with the change under MCL 46.3 so that beginning at your organizational meeting on January 8th, date is 8th, January 8th, you would elect a chairperson for 2 years as opposed to 1 year.
And those are your two choices by law.
That's
one
correct.
or two.
1 or 2.
That's it.
They have not changed it to account for the fact that you now have 4-year terms.
Fair enough.
And then those are the only changes to the organizational rules and the resolution allowing such.
So that's 12 is the,
Yes, 12 and 16 both reflect those changes.
any comments? Discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. And that moves to Wednesday, which brings us to our final agenda item. I would look for a motion to approve resolution number 24-12-15, meeting compensation for county boards, commissions, and committees.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported.
So very briefly, under the background, you cannot make any changes to these for another 4 years. This is the last time you have an opportunity to make any changes until, you can only make changes to these compensation things every 2 years before the start of another term. But your terms have now gone to 4 years. So you will not be able to make any adjustments to these for an additional 4 years. Cindy and myself did discuss this, and we do need to add one additional one on there for the road commission for their base from 7 to 3, or 7 to 10. Not the other way
Okay, so the road commission, which by,
around. You guys said.
we set that, so they would be looking for their base pay to increase from 7,000 to 10,000.
And that, I missed that one on the bottom. And then that includes the planning commission, zoning board of appeals, etc. But this is the only opportunity you have to make any changes for 4 years.
All right, discussion. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, the same. And we'll see that again on Wednesday. Which brings us to our second call to the public.
Madam Chair, that
Yes.
includes with the road commission change.
Yes, I took that.
I'll amend the motion to
I'll
include the
support
road
it.
commission.
Okay, all right.
You gotta vote again?
I don't think so. I took it that way when I wrote it down, but, all
All
right.
three of us agree.
That's right. All right. Which brings us back to public comment. Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Please stand and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. That brings us to our first call to the public for the Economic and Physical Development Committee meeting minute. All right, hearing none. Moving down to Peter Preston with the Community Development Report.
Good evening, everyone. 19 building permits and 19 zoning permits. As you can see, our code enforcement output is still screwed up. We have a new individual, they've been here for a couple months now, that works half-time in the equalization with me for field work, but also half-time for code enforcement. So we have a pretty good code enforcement staff now. We need the system to give you an output of what's actually happening. Other things going on, we do have the planned unit development for the Shiawassee Speedway as a public hearing next Wednesday. And then following up on that, we'll probably take into January or February to review it and go through that. So that's kind of a big deal that's going on. Other than that, that's all I have, unless you have anything to add. I would like to note that we are going through a little bit of a facelift in the building department. I'd like to thank Dr. Boggs and Tim for making that happening. Our desks are on the way. We've told that they'll be here Wednesday, and then we were told they wouldn't be here until after Christmas, and then we were told that they'd be here Wednesday, and so they'll get here. So, thank you.
Thank you.
So just as a little update, so there was some additional funds in the building department that we could not just transfer into the general fund. So we used it to update the building, or his suite a little. Some of the wallpaper was peeled off from water damage over the years and things like that.
They get new carpeting too then?
New Tim pulled off the wallpaper, skim coated the wall, they were painted at new carpet. So.
Perfect. All right. Thank you very much. With that, moving on to our agenda items, I would look for a motion to authorize the purchase of an excavator from the Drain Equipment Fund in an amount not to exceed $45,844.
I'll make the motion.
I'll support that. Discussion?
So Tony has been renting an excavator since 2019. It's got about 3,500 hours on it. And the rental payments we have been making have been going towards the purchase if we want to buy it out. And the purchase is for about $45,000, and he has the money in his equipment fund to do so. Its estimated value is over that of what he's purchasing out as, and they have been using it exclusively. It was new when you got it, right?
No, it was, it's a 2019 is what the machine is. That's the year of the machine. It's got about, it had, I forget how many hours, I think it had 2,200 hours on it when we first got it. It's got 3,400 hours on it right now. Yeah, they put all the money to it. It's actually, that thing is $45,843. We put a minimum of, it's worth at least $60,000, but they put a value of it between $90,000 and $125,000 is what it is, what the value is. We intended on, I don't know what the new guy wants to do, but we intended on buying it and reselling it anyways. We didn't really plan on keeping it. Because, but they give us a pretty good deal on, or giving us a lot of our money back on this, okay? Because at the time we bought it, that machine was worth, I think, when we leased it, I think it was worth around $218,000 is what it was worth. So, they give us 90% of our rent back to it. It's, this one's got a thumb on it. It's 172 horse, and it's what they call a 53,000 pound operating machine, okay? And we did have one in 08 that's, we had a year and a half ago, the Mike Meisel had one that was an 08 that had only 2,100 hours on it, and that bought 132,000 without a thumb. The thumb is about $6,000 to get put on. And we have also got a ditching bucket with this. That one didn't have no ditching bucket either. So.
And what's the useful life on a machine like that? How many hours?
Well, I don't know. I think Gary and Bruce had them. They had 10,000 hours on them. You know, the tracks on this, they estimate that you need to repin and bush the tracks at about between 5,000 and 6,000 hours. You know, that's quite an expense. But that's where they figure between 5,000 and 6,000 hours that you do the tracks. You know.
So that would be several years down the road.
Yeah, yeah. If we decided to keep it, but like I said, it'd be worth buying it even if we didn't keep it, because we'll get more than our money out of it. You know what I mean? Because we pay to get it hauled. We don't big enough to haul that heavy with the machine. You know? Well, here I've got this. I was going to give these to you guys. Here's some pictures of what it looks like. Okay, here's some more too. Here. Sure. I think this is a little bit bigger than the machine here. You guys used to have a 225. This one is between the 225 and your 325. This one's between them two. It's a little bigger than but it ain't as big as your 325. It's what this one is.
Do the commissioners get to play with it?
It's up to you if you want to come down. Gary, I know.
Tell me you wouldn't have fun with that.
Yeah.
Next groundbreaking.
I would know how to run it, so.
Yeah, Gary knows how to run it.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't like about it, it's all computerized. Everything's computerized on it. It's got DEF, you know, so, you know, it's. Yep, they all got that now, yep, so you can't get away from it. And it's about, I think every 2 years you gotta have the computer rebooted, they call it. It takes about 6 hours to reboot it, they gotta come out and do it, you know, of course, you know. And so there's some things, you know, that you gotta maintain on it, but we didn't really have a lot of trouble with it, you know, since we used it. And we actually rented it to do a couple of jobs that we tried to see once, but we replaced, I think it was 3,900 feet of 12-inch tile in Watersand. It's a small district, which the state helped us pay for the job, so that's why we did it. And that job started, I don't know if you remember Sid Grinnell, that started way back when he was alive. He wanted us to do this, and we did. I said, you can't afford this, Sid, you know. So.
Okay. Any other questions for the commissioner?
Yeah, go ahead,
Cindy.
I just want to say that, I mean, we talk about excavators at my house a lot. We have a small one in my yard, but Tony, I really appreciate your expertise and your knowledge that you bring to this board. It is going to be sorely missed. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, and the only reason I brought it now is because end of December, they're not gonna give us this deal. That's why I'm right here. Because they didn't wanna give me that now, you know. But the guy that I did the lease through, he's the one that gave me, he said, no, we'll do that. Well, then the salesman says, no, we can't do that. Well, then he called me and says, yeah, we can. So we got till the end of December.
Perfect. Okay, thank you, Tony. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of moving this on to Wednesday, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Next, I look for a motion to approve Resolution 24-12-14, approving a brownfield plan for Creek Point Development, Durand, Michigan, pursuant to and in accordance with the provisions of Act 381 of the Public Acts of the State of Michigan of 1996 as amended.
Make the motion.
Support?
All right, we have motion support, discussion.
So there is a partially completed subdivision located in the southern part of the city of Durand. It has been started over 24 years ago, I would say, and it's called Creek Point Circle. The road only goes halfway around and stops. The land bank has been working to redevelop those other lots, which through Justin, we have found a developer who has come in and they have built houses on the lots. Well, the developer would like to build on the other lots, the ones that, if the road were to continue to complete the circle, would be there. However, to do so, they need infrastructure. The road is not there, the sewer is not there, but the water system is there, I believe. And so there is a way through the land bank and the brownfield for us to get money from the state of Michigan that the developer is on the hook for paying back, as long as we agree to forego collecting taxes on the property that's in there, which is 17 lots for about 20 years or so, maybe slightly longer, and that will pay back the loan. Currently, the county and the city is not receiving any money from those lots because they're all owned by the city and therefore not subject to taxation anyways. And with that, I'll introduce Justin and Sam to talk about these and answer any questions that you might have. But our risk is low and the yield is high.
Thank you.
Dr. Bach did a great job explaining that. I think what's exciting, I think this is the third or fourth plan now we've had in front of the board. I mean, this is the most activity we've had, and it really is thanks to the land bank and brownfield. So thank you, commissioners, for your support on that. We're really getting a lot of action. Just to add a little more to what he said, MSHDA, Michigan State Housing Development Authority, who we work with on a number of different things, they have a new program where essentially they are going to serve as a bank for this project. So as Dr. Boggs noted, the challenge with infrastructure is who's going to write the check, right? Because it's hard, from a local municipality standpoint, local governments don't have that funding. And even if they could bond for it, I mean, the cost, the time, the expense is great. So MSHDA recognized this was a barrier to infrastructure and said, we need to step forward and essentially front that money. With the idea being that the taxes paid by the homes that eventually get built there would go to repay that upfront cost. In order to get to that point, one of these TIF plans has to be constructed and approved by all the local parties. In this case, the Durand City Council, which they did unanimously last Monday night, the County Brownfield Authority, which they did last Monday unanimously as well, and then it has to be in front of the Board of Commissioners for approval. And so we're here tonight to seek that. But I think this is part of a broader story where with the brownfield, with the land bank, working with Dr. Boggs, working with Sam, we're really, SEDP, we're putting the tools together to make stuff happen. We're using the grants, the tax benefits, all that to foster development in Durand. We've done Woodland Trails, we've done Washington Park. These things are coming to fruition because we're finding a way to make all this work. So that's a credit to all of you, the commissioners, a credit to Dr. Boggs and staff, Julie, the treasurer, the chair of our land bank board. It really is a true team effort. So that's the high level. Sam, anything on the plan itself you want to know?
I'm gonna not let him go first because he's always like very exciting and I'm technical. So we need to book in it with what Dr. Bob says it's fun. I say it's technical, then we end with fun. Again, thank you for having me here this evening. Samantha Mary is, I am the consultant for the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. Happy to present this plan to you this evening. As you're aware, each of these plans are a little bit nuanced, as Justin and Dr. Boggs mentioned. This one in particular is really using that TIF to build that capital stack. So the TIF is being used to repay for the loan for the infrastructure through MISTA, and this will develop the 17 lots over in the Creek Point subdivision in the city of Durand. Happy to answer any specific questions about the Brownfield plan. As mentioned, it was supported by the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority at their meeting last Monday, and then at the Durand City Council meeting, they also passed a resolution of understanding and resolution of concurrence for this plan.
I would note that this subdivision had largely sat undeveloped for a long time until the last couple of years, when the lots on the side that does have its infrastructure started to sell and get developed, and now all the houses are sold. So I think this also speaks to our housing shortage. These are going to be cheaper homes than the condos that were approved for Woodland Trails. They're more in the $200,000 range.
Who keeps track of the money in the, who keeps track of that? I mean, the checks and that?
So we keep track of it through between us and the state.
Oh,
And we get an administrative fee for doing so.
you mean the city of Durand?
No, the county.
Oh, the county. Oh,
So-
okay,
so-
I was a little fuzzy
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
So the county takes care of it because the only one that has their own brownfield board in the county is Owasso. Everyone else relies on the county for this.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Everyone else has to come through here. And so this is Durand's application.
Mr. Chair, and Sam, you can comment on this,
Yeah.
but I'm glad you brought that up, Gary,
Yeah.
because there are actually a couple of items that the county can collect that can support further development. So one is the administrative piece, so the county gets money to help administer all this, and then this also helps support development of a revolving loan fund as well. And you might want to
Sure.
touch on that.
So each plan, speaking first about the administrative side, each plan in the tax increment financing tables projects that the BRA is collecting 10% of all the taxes and retaining that for their own administrative costs. As Justin mentioned, the BRA did pass a resolution to have a local brownfield revolving fund. And how that works is after all of the eligible activities in the brownfield plan have been repaid with the available tax increment revenue, the BRA can choose to, or elect to, maintain those increment revenues for up to 5 years. And that can be used to set up a site assessment program. So if there are priority redevelopment sites within the community, you can be doing some investigative analysis, environmental site assessment, phase 1, phase 2, building demolition, anything that is allowed under statute, you can then use those LBRF dollars for. You could also program those dollars to assist in additional gap financing for developers and do grant and loan programs to municipalities. So really the opportunities with the LBRF are endless so long as we're operating within the eligible activity confines of the statute, but that just retains additional tax dollars in Shiawassee County for you to better prioritize redevelopment projects in the area.
Okay, excellent, sounds like a great deal.
Further discussion would not be able to be done if the state was not serving as the bank for this.
Right. Okay. Hearing none, all in favor of moving this on to Wednesday? Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving this on to Wednesday, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, motion passes. Next, I look for a motion to approve the revised 2024 apportionment report as presented for local taxing authorities.
I'll make the motion.
Support, all right, discussion.
So you may know that you've already approved this previously. However, some villages passed, some villages failed. It affects the report and what they're going to collect next year. this board, whether this is your villages or villages of a local school district or a village or a city, they all have to come through here for final approval for the apportionment report. And now that the election is over and everything's been certified and all the ballot initiatives, it affects the report and they have to be readjusted.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of moving this on to Wednesday, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, motion passes. Next, I look for a motion to approve the purchase of 2 elevator circuit boards not to exceed $6,904 each.
So moved.
Support.
All right, we have motion of support, discussion.
So there are 2 circuit boards, and I have Tim come up here to discuss it.
Actually, I think there's more than 2 circuit boards. It's the circuit boards that operate the operation of the door. Like when you hit the button, it operates a circuit board, which apparently they're obsolete anymore, and the company can't get them. So let's say mainly circuit court, if one goes down, they said it could be a month before they'll be able to get it replaced. So it's kind of a preemptive type thing, but do you really want to be down for the month and not be able to get people to, that's the problem. I mean, and eventually we have had some issues here and there. I mean, I think each floor has a circuit board that they're gonna have to replace behind the buttons, and I think inside the elevator too. And then there's some, I don't know, software that has to be upgraded also in order to operate what they need to replace.
That's both elevators then?
Yeah, both of them are gonna need it.
Okay.
And I haven't talked to the other companies about, I mean, the only one that I really don't think is gonna have a real problem is in Larry's new health department, because that's a newer elevator. And it's not as old as the rest of them, but I'm waiting. I just got this feeling that before long, the other Kone, the other elevator service that we deal with too, is gonna probably contact me and be telling me the same thing about the other 2 elevators or 3 elevators that they service also. I mean, because they're all of that age that, and I don't know what Kone's doing for they haven't contacted me yet, but this was Schindler, and they said that, they need to do something. They just want to be preemptive about it because they didn't want us to be down for a month.
So there wasn't an outage or something that prompted?
No.
So this is gonna happen after the first year, or when they get the parts and stuff?
More or less, yeah.
Okay.
But like when we okay it, I've got to kind of get them the money, and then they'll get the stuff, and they'll do it, and then they'll install it shortly afterwards. But I got a feeling that it's probably going to take them a little bit of time to, do it also. So, and they said install would be about 3 hours once they got all the stuff together, that the elevator would be down. They figured.
Yeah, you wouldn't think Larry's has been there that long. His is probably updated pretty good now for a while,
Right.
I would think.
Well, yeah, and that's one that I think, because, basically his building's got 2 elevators in it, but,
And one is new and one is.
yeah, so,
Because he has 2 elevators.
yeah,
Okay.
but that's kind of where we stand.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of moving this to Wednesday, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, motion moves on. Next, our second call to the public. Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
That's right, yeah, you're bringing the bread. Just,
I'm bringing the bread.
hey, Tony, yeah,
I will have your bread.
okay, yeah.
Send it.
Priority.